Warren Buffett, one of the world's richest men, was recently quoted as saying, "When everyone is greedy, you should be fearful. And when everyone is fearful, you should be greedy." Most people recognise the name Warren Buffett in the same way as names like Bill Gates, Sir Richard Branson, Bill Clinton and Nelson Mandela are instantly recognisable. Why? Because they are abnormally successful people. Their exploits in their chosen field put them head and shoulders above normal people. They use their minds differently to normal people, who, research tells us, don't really use their minds at all. Buffett's quote hints at how you and I, or indeed anyone with a mind to, can be abnormally successful. Basically what he's saying is, do the exact opposite to what everyone else is doing. Everyone else, all those sheep doing exactly the same thing, are of course by definition normal people. And research on both sides of the Atlantic, spanning decades, proves that normal people use about 1% of their mental capacity. Gurdie.net explains how, as a result, normal people's minds control them, not the other way around. In other words, normal people are stark, raving mad, completely out of control. Buffett's quote was called to mind in the context of what has been variously described as the credit crunch, the collapse of the financial system, or global financial meltdown. The end of life as we know it, according to journalists with an eye for a good story. Bad news, good story. I'd like to give you some more quotes, some more examples of what has happened and what is being said in relation to what has been taking place on global financial markets. The BBC's international website, for 4 days in a row, told us that investors are fearful that the credit crunch will cause a global recession. Does anyone out there find that statement bizarre? Because surely their fear, if not causing a global recession, will certainly fuel one. And to quote a senior American investment strategist in relation to all the selling that was going on markets, he said, "This is pure panic, that's all it is." And a senior Japanese stockbroker stated, and I quote, "Investors are gripped by fear." Gurdie members know what fear is. Fear is just another useless thought. In the context of the global financial meltdown, people fear they will lose their money, so they offload their investments onto the market and prove themselves right. Just the exact opposite of what one of the world's richest men suggests. A number of years ago, the author Susan Jeffers suggested that you feel the fear and do it anyway. However, what only a small number of exceptionally successful people have understood is that there is no fear. Just like lack of self-confidence, worry, doubt, nervousness, fear is a trick of the mind. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting that we don't have to deal with issues regularly, small, large, global. But the issues are not the challenge. How we act in relation to those issues, that's what the challenge is. Of course, if you're normal, using only 1% of your mind, you're in no position to act at all. You'll react. You'll be fearful along with all the other morons. And along with all the other morons, you'll be greedy when they are too. Sure, it must be right. Everybody is doing it. That, indeed, is how the whole global financial crisis started in the first place. All the morons got greedy together. Bankers saw other bankers buying so-called securitized subprime debt. It was offering what they thought might be a good return, so they got greedy. And other bankers got greedy. And all the bankers got greedy. They all wallowed along together on the basis that everybody's doing it, it must be right. If you've read my CV, you'll know that I was a banker. Back in those days, when my bank looked at the possibility of buying another bank's book of mortgage business, we did what we called due diligence. In other words, we examined what we were buying from every possible angle to make sure we knew what we were getting. But with subprime securities, even the sellers didn't know what they were selling, and the buyers hadn't got a clue. In chatting about this phenomenon with some of my banking clients a couple of weeks ago, I compared the subprime business with a main Mercedes dealer buying a container load of used cars without knowing what type they were, whether they worked or not, or indeed whether they even had four wheels and an engine. But when the Mercedes dealer bought one, the BMW dealer down the road wanted one as well. Everyone wanted one. Is that madness or not? All these so-called intelligent, highly paid sheep in banking, or as it turns out, lemmings, all decided to run off the cliff together. In rounding off this 5-minute seminar, I'd like to quote the President of the European Central Bank, Jean-Claude Trichet. His advice to markets was, calm down. Now, I suspect he wasn't saying that in the context in which you might scream at a hyperactive child, would you ever calm down? No, it actually strikes me as a genuine, timely, and perhaps abnormal piece of real advice. Of course, Gardaí members know the value of a calm mind, and if you stop to reflect upon it, maybe you do too. After all, which is better? Action born out of fear and panic, or action driven by a cool, calm and collected mind? In today's world, where the reactions of panicked and fearful people are setting off global chain reactions, from Wall Street to Tokyo, to Frankfurt, to London, and back to Wall Street all over again, a little calm might just indeed go a long way. Why not calm down? Or, to slightly misquote Warren Buffett, when everyone else is panicking, you should be calm. You should be Gardaí.